Today, our concept is understanding how various questions related related to JavaScript data types. So, questions related to JavaScript data types. So, how questions are asked related to the data types? Today, we are going to know about them. So, yesterday we discussed about all concepts related to variables. And I will share a document with you. You join the community. You please join the WhatsApp community shared. So our admin will share the document after the end of the session so that you will get a complete note of what we discussed in this workshop. Okay. So yesterday's questions were related to variables. We discussed a few questions, how questions asked related to variables. Now today, data types. So first important point about data types, what you need to know in JavaScript is, if anyone asks, so what are the primitive types? What are the primitive types of JavaScript? JavaScript. So in 2020, actually it is ECMA 2020 plus version. So actually, can you tell me what is the current latest version of JavaScript? Anyone have idea? What is the latest version of JavaScript? Do you have idea of that? Actually, versions, JavaScript versions, currently we are in version of 16 ECMA 2025. Actually, it is 16 version we are having. ECMA 2025, but ES 16, that is the version actually. ES 16 is the current latest version of JavaScript. But companies still use ES6, ES7. Actually, ES6, ES7 are 2016, 2017 versions. So 20 ES 2020 and higher versions. So what are the types they have? Primitive types. What's the new thing about the primitive types is actually yesterday I explained a scenario about difference between primitive and non-primitive. I hope you remembered that. So I showed with an example of primitive type and non-primitive type. Means how a reference is affected. I showed with one example. Okay. Now, what are the primitive types of latest version of JavaScript available? Actually, so the primitive types, we are having a string, we are having a number, so boolean, null, undefined, we have big int and symbol. These are the primitive types of JavaScript. We have a number, string, boolean, null, undefined, big int. So these are the primitive data types. Primitive data types. So what is new maybe for people who are not completely aware of JavaScript is the big int and symbol type. They are actually new types of primitive types. Um, because you already have knowledge of JavaScript, so you know that the JavaScript, the new types are big int and symbol. Do you know big int and symbol types? So have you worked with them? Do you have an awareness on that? Big int and symbol types. Yeah, okay. I will give an overview about that. What is the type? Actually, if you have learned JavaScript, so usually large integer values. That means I will give a point. So what is big int? So it is used for large integer values. So large integer values. Actually, large integer values are considered as not safe integers. They are not safe integers. Large integers are considered as not safe integers. Actually, to tell the compiling system that this large integer is a safe integer, we have a new type called big int. Generally, how you define is, so that means, so big int specifies that large integer is a safe integer. So BigInt is used for specifying that large integer is a safe integer. Usually how you define is when you are writing a large integer, suppose a large integer value you are writing, because it is not a safe integer, compiling system may round the value, compiler system may modify this value. To tell the compiling system that it is a safe integer, you have to just suffix with n. If you suffix with n, then it becomes a big integer. So that means we call big int. Actually, so when we are using arbitrary large integer values, then we have to use as big int. Actually, in earlier versions, they are denoted by using max safe integer. Max safe integer. That is defined by using number max safe integer, which is in modern JavaScript, we just mention that with n as suffix. That is one new data type for numbers in JavaScript. If you are using some large integer values, always you better configure this as n suffix so that it is an big integer. So that's one new for numbers. So I hope everyone got a clarity on this. Usually you might have already learned, otherwise I hope you got a clarity on this. If you are using large integers, then always denote with suffix. Yeah, any large integer. It's not, see, mobile numbers we don't use as numbers. Mobile numbers we recognize as string because they have a certain format also. No? We use regular expressions to verify the format, like plus 9, 1 and number. So it's not a number. So it is always better to configure as a string for that. Okay, right. Now, this is one option. Next important new is, what is symbol type? What is symbol type? What is the concept of symbol? It is one new data type. Actually, this symbol is related to object. That means when you are configuring an object, every object can have a unique identification. That unique identification can be defined as symbol. So, for example, I will show you one point here. Suppose, means it's a very important in both ways to understand in HTML and CSS, HTML and JavaScript, how do we manage? For example, I will show you one concept. In a HTML page, I am designing a form. In this form, we have some details like use a product name. Okay. And for that, we have a text box. Input type is text. And it is having a name as name. Okay. Next, another field, we are having some price. So we have name and price, and the name is price. Okay. And I want to save this. I want to save this. And this is a edit product form. It is an edit product form. By default, it is having some value TV. It is having some value price. Some price is like this. Now, what is the intention here is in this form, already few details are defined and we need to submit these details. And actually, this is a edit form. So when I click save, it should carry the name and price and update into the database. But name is not a unique identification and price is not a unique identification. Am I right? Name and price are not unique identification. Am I right? So what do you say? Which one can be unique identification? Which can be unique identification? So name cannot be unique identification because same name products can be there. Name cannot be a unique identification, right? That means, in database, you will use a primary key. Am I right? Because by using the primary key, you can update. Better put one ID. That ID can be unique. I hope everyone understood that. Yeah. So the point here is I want a unique identification to update this product in the background. That identification must be used by this form, but I don't need to show that identification in the form. That means in the form, there is no ID, but when I submit, it should submit ID also. In the form, there is no ID, but when I submit, it should submit the ID also. I hope everyone understood the requirement. Everyone understood the requirement. Okay. Now the question is, without showing how you will submit an ID, without showing in the form how you will submit anything, without defining a field, how you will submit a field. Actually, for that, what you can do is you can make one input type as hidden. You can configure a hidden type. This hidden type, its name is ID, and in that it is having a value some 101. That is the ID of that particular product. What is this hidden type? It is a unique identification for this product. It is a unique identification for this product. And this identification is not shown in the page. This identification is not displayed in your form. But observe carefully when I modify the name as some Samsung TV, I modify the price, some price, and when I submit, you can observe that it is going to submit. It is going to submit the ID also in the URL. You can see that it is going to submit the ID also in the URL. But ID is not here in the form. I hope you understood the concept, right? That means what is ID? ID is a unique identification. And what is the purpose of this unique identification? It is required to update or delete that particular record in the data. So Now the point is, what is the logic here is, don't show the ID, but use the ID. You don't need to show the ID, but you should able to use the ID. That is very important for actions like edit, update, delete, and all such interactions. So in JavaScript, you can create a unique identifier for every object without showing it, but making it available to use it. So here how I done that, by using input type hidden. In JavaScript, this ID, unique identifier, can be designed by using a type called symbol. By using a type called symbol. So a symbol type allows you to design a unique identifier, and that unique identifier will be used in the background, but it is not shown. It is used in the background, but it is not shown. That is the purpose of symbol type. I will show you how it can happen. I will show you that. Let's see. So actually, this is this is in a form how you manage that by using hidden. Let's see how we do this in JavaScript. Suppose I'm creating a product object. The product is an object type. It have a name and it have price. So these details are present. Now what I want to do is I want to read and present them. If I want to read and present them, so I will use simply here I will use object dot keys. It is going to return all the keys of product. I will use a map. By using it, I will read every key and I want to print the key. So I will use document dot write and I want to print the key with a break I will use. So what I am doing is I am reading every key and I am printing every key. And you can see that it is going to print all the keys. It is going to print all the keys, the name and price. Now, if I added a unique key called ID and put it as 1, then automatically it can able to show this key also, and you can see the key also displayed. The key also displayed. But what is our requirement is create this unique key as a hidden key so that it is used in implicitly, but it is not shown outside. You have to use it implicitly, but it is not shown outside. So then what we will do is we can make this ID as a symbol type. So we can create an ID as symbol type, and we can symbol types are defined in a square brace, in a meta character. And now we are using id as a symbol type. Then you can observe that when I use id as a symbol type, you can see the id is not there in the list, but actually id is present but it is not shown. You can use it implicitly. How to use implicitly? I am using console log and I am printing product of id. That means I am trying to use the product id, and you can see that it is not showing in the output, but you can see the id is in the log. It is showing that id as 1. It is showing the id as 1. That means I'm just giving here id is equal to that id, then it is going to display that id 1. That means you created a unique identification for an object which is implicitly used for handling various interactions, but explicitly it is not shown in the user interface whenever you are reading through an iterator and all. To create such unique identifications with hidden, this is done by using the data type called what type? Symbol type. I hope everyone understood this point. Is it clear? Everyone understood the point? Yes. So what is the purpose of a symbol type? What is the purpose of a symbol type? The purpose of a symbol type is to create a unique identifier for object. So what is the purpose of the type? So what is symbol? So it is used to create a unique identifier for object. So symbol type is by default. So by default hidden. The symbol type is by default hidden. It is by default hidden. So explicitly you can access symbol. Explicitly you can access symbol. Implicitly it is hidden. So how you configure that? Whenever you define a unique identification, make it as symbol, and in any object we are using, then we have to enclose in a square brace and put some value into it. So some name as TV, something like this. And this is how we can configure a symbol type. How we can define a symbol type. So this is important to understand how the symbol types are going to work. Is it clear to everyone? Yes. Okay, good. Right. So I will share this example also. Just at the end, we will share this in the community. You can get it from there. This document yesterday's and today I will share there, right? So that is the primitive types of JavaScript up to the latest version, what primitive types you are having. I hope you have a complete idea on all the primitive types. Huh? Right. Now, one more important point is in interviews, another important question asked is what is difference? What is difference between null and undefined? This is another very important question asked in interviews. What is difference between null and undefined? What is the concept of null and undefined? So generally, what is the main point about null and undefined and how this null and undefined works? So do you have any idea? Right? Okay. It's fine. So see, you may have an idea of what is null and what is undefined, but the point is how you answer this, how you answer this in interview. That is the key concept. How you answer in interview, that is important. So how you define undefined. So, and how you define null, how we manage these two, you need to understand that. Actually, let's see the point. Generally, so undefined means usually undefined. Generally, undefined is nothing but, so undefined means value of a variable. So value of a variable has been declared. That means you declared a variable. Variable is declared. So you simply say variable is declared and value is not defined. So variable is declared and value is not defined. That means value is not initialized. Value is not assigned. If variable is declared and value is not defined, that means neither initialized nor assigned. Then what it will do is, so it is going to return. That means it is going to return as undefined. That means missing. If it is missing, the value is missing. So it returns undefined. Undefined. So that means what is the point is the compiling system is unable to find a value, is unable to find a value. Then we generally call it as undefined. Undefined means it is a reference without any value. So that means if a value is not defined, then it will set it to undefined. Generally, when we use null, what is the concept of null is actually it is an explicit no value. Explicit no value means what? Explicit no value means the value is intentionally not provided. So that means it is used to indicate that value is not provided intentionally. If value is not provided intentionally, then it is null. Value is not provided intentionally, it is null. If value is expected at the compiling time and it is not able to find the value, unable to find the value, then automatically your compiler system will set it as undefined. Undefined means unfortunately the value was not found and there is no value defined in a reference, then automatically it is considered as undefined. Null means it is an exception, means null means intentionally the value is not provided. If intentionally value is not provided, then automatically it will set null. Null means intentionally value is not provided. I will show you one concept here. Suppose I'm defining here I'm defining a variable x and I'm using console.log and I'm printing the value of x. So x is equal to the value of x. And you can see that a value is missing. That is not intention. That is because later we expect the value to come into x. But before that, you are trying to use the value. Before that, you are trying to use the value, then it is going to return undefined. You can see that x is undefined. You can see x is undefined. That means it returns undefined. It returns undefined. X is undefined. If intentionally the value is not supplied, for example, I am expecting the value into x by using a prompt. I am using a prompt and say enter number. And you can see that I am refreshing. It is asking to enter number. Intentionally, I cancelled it. That means I am not providing a value. That is my intentional value of, means my intentional concept is, my intention is not to give any value as of now. Then intentionally you cancel it. Then it will put it to null. It will put to null. So undefined is by the compiling system when it is unable to find a value before you use it, right? So then it is undefined. If intentionally the value is not provided, then it is called as what? Null. It is configured as null. When a value is intentionally missing, you think that value can be intentionally ignored, then always you have to mention the type as what? Null. Type as null. So that is the difference between undefined and null type. Undefined and null type. Is it clear? I hope you understood, everyone. So what is difference between undefined and null type? Yes, good. Right. Yeah, right. So this is one important. Now, another another important point is whenever you are working with the types, whenever you are configuring the types and working with the types, some tricky questions will come. That means actually, if anyone asks like, what is the type of null? What is the type of null? That means what is its data type? Actually, what is the type of null? The null data type is actually it is an object type. So null is an object type. So if anyone asks us in interviews like what is the data type of null? Actually, null itself is a type. But what is the type of null? The type of null is an object. The type of null is object. So usually you see here, suppose I'm having some option like C. Let's say, so I want to know the data type of this null. I want to know the data type of null. Then I will use type of X. That means I am taking the type of X. What is the data type of X? That means you can see now I'm refreshing this. I cancelled. It will take a null, and null is an object type. You can see null type is object type. Suppose I provided a value, then it is a string type. It is a string type. But if I say null, I cancelled. Null is an object type. So what is the type of null? If anyone asks what is the type of null, that means the type of null is always an object. Type of null is always an object. Am I clear? Understood? Right? So technically, object type, right? It is an object type. And you know, object is a reference type. Object is a reference type, right? So these are all, see, these are interview questions I am explaining. I am not teaching you JavaScript in this class, okay? Because teaching JavaScript will teach you what is object, how object works, what kind of objects are there, everything will go into that, right? Our intention is not teaching you JavaScript in this session, okay? Because usually people who already know JavaScript, already they have idea of object manipulations and so many things. So we are giving some additional information in interviews, how different the question can be, right? So this is one point. Okay, now tell me, if anyone asks you like, so what is the type of NAN? Actually, NAN refers to not a number. NAN is not a number. What is the type of NAN? What do you say? Generally, NAN is to verify whether the value is a number or not. Can you tell what is the type of NAN? Actually, is NAN is a boolean that verifies whether the value is a number or not. What is the data type of NAN? If anyone asks like, what is the type of NAN? Then the type of NAN, actually NAN is a number type, is a number type. NAN is a number type. So it is a numeric number type. So if anyone asks like what is the type? What is the type of is NAN? What do you say? What is the type of is NAN? So it is a Boolean type. It is a Boolean type because it returns true or false. It is a Boolean type, right? So now here, very important is another point. What is what is the type of array? What is the type of this? What do you say? What is the type of array? So it is also object type. It is also an object type. It is also an object type. Good, good. Some people have already aware of that. It is an object type. It is an object type. Good. Right. So while working with types, so this is important. You need to understand so how these types are configured and defined. Right. So now actually another very, very complex. So it is a method, right? So method will return what? Boolean, na? Right? I think you need to be little bit clear in understanding JavaScript. Huh? What do you think? Method don't have a return type, right? Method don't have return types. Huh? Method cannot have a type. So method can have a return type, right? I hope you know that. Huh? Method can be void or method can have a return type. A method can be number type, a method can be string type, a method can be Boolean type. You should know that in JavaScript. Huh? Right. I hope you already know that method also have a type. Huh? Right. So methods are generic. These are the that is Boolean type method. Okay. Yeah. Now another important point is in little bit experience questions they will ask you so about what are what are truthy and falsy values, truthy and falsy values in JavaScript. This is another question we see for experience level people. So, what are the truthy and falsy values? Because usually these will affect our logics. These are going to affect the logics. That is the reason you should know the truthy and falsy values, how they are handled, how it is handled. So, generally, what is the concept? What are the truthy and falsy values, and how you can manage? Remember. So, actually, falsy values means falsy values. What are the falsy values of JavaScript? If you define false, false is a falsy value. Zero is a falsy value. Minus zero, that is also a falsy value. So you use on. So that means on is also a falsy value. All is also a falsy value. And empty string, this is also a falsy value. Empty string is a falsy value. Null is a falsy value. Undefined is a falsy value. And NaN is a falsy value. These are all falsy values. These are all falsy values. These are all important. That means, for example, the point is actually you might have heard about null, undefined, NaN, and all these. Where you have seen this on. So where you have seen this on as a value, where you have seen this on as a value, on as a value, not as a method, where you have seen on as a value in your HTML, JavaScript, where you have seen on as a value. If anyone asks which one will return on as a value, actually the elements like radius and checkbox, they return on as a value. The radius and checkboxes, they return on as a value. You know, I will show you the point here. For example, we are having a form. In the form, we are having input type as radio. So name is gender, and we are giving a label as male. And we have another one. So this is So another gender. So this is female. And we have a button, and this is submit button. Observe carefully. If there is no value mentioned, if there is no value mentioned for if there is no value mentioned for radios, observe what they do. For radios, there are no values mentioned, and I am submitting, and you can see it is empty. When I select any radio and submit, you can see it submits on as a value, gender on as a value, gender on as a value. That means usually, but later you will understand in other situation also. So, but this is on is one option. It can be used for true false. That means verify whether the value is there or not. But that's not the concept. Not only on. Actually, so we have another type that is 0n. This is also an value. This is not on. Actually, this is big int value, big int 0, that is big int 0. This big int 0, so this big int 0 is also, this big int 0 also a falsy value, a falsy value. That means, for example, I will tell you a point here. If I write the condition if 0, now tell me what is it? Is it true or false? What is it? Is it true or false? 0 comes under a falsy value. I given already there now. That means it is a falsy value, right? It is a falsy value. Same, if I write as null, that means what it is? It is true or false. So it is a falsy value. It is a falsy value. Good, right? That is a falsy value, right? So these are falsy values, falsy values, right? Now, generally, here we have another important truthy values. Truthy values are nothing but, actually, under the truthy values, you will get array is a truthy value, object is a truthy value, and string 0 is a truthy value, string false is a truthy value, because they are not false and true. These are truthy values. These are truthy values. So that means actually if you write if with an empty array type, so what it will return? This is going to return true. It is going to return true. If you have defined if as an object, then this also going to return, this is going to return true. So it is going to return true. In many interviews, these type of tricky syntaxes may be given to you. So you need to understand the type. That means how we can configure and use that. That is truthy and falsy values. So truthy and falsy values. Yeah. I hope everyone understood the points, right? Good, good. Right. Is it clear? Understood? Right. Yeah. Now, while working with the data, these are all about data types. We are discussing about the data types. So various points about the data types we are discussing. Now, another important you will find here. So another important question related to these data types, because see, we can have a separate session on array handling, because array related so many questions will be there. Object related so many questions will be there. Array, object, map, date, every data type, they can ask several questions on those data types. Universally, some important related to all data types I am giving today. Later in other workshops, we will conduct separate session on only array questions, on only object questions, only function questions. Like that, we will conduct separate workshop on them. Collectively on different data types, how the questions are asked, we are discussing that. So different options. Okay. Now, while working with while working with the type, for example, if anyone means while working with arrays and objects, so if anyone asks what is difference between, so what is difference between array constructor and meta character? Generally, when you are configuring the type, this is a very popular question you will get. So what is difference between array constructor and array meta character? For that, you need to understand one more concept actually. That means to handle this, you need to know that, right? One more, I will show you the concept. See, suppose if anyone asks you like, right? So let's to to get the answer for this question. Yeah. So to get the answer for this question, let me give you one point here. So let's give the point here. The point is, suppose, let's say I'm writing where X is equal to some John. Okay. And where, so Y is equal to new string. And so David, like this we have defined. So like this, we are configuring. Now, can you tell me what is the data type of X and what is the data type of Y? What is the data type of X? What is the type of X? What is the type of X? X type is string. Good. X type is string. What is the type of Y? Here interesting point is actually Y type is object, not a string. It is not a string. It is an object. So Y type is not a string. It is an object because anything configured using new keyword, that means actually new is considered as an operator. Anything configured using new operator is considered as an object. It allocates a dynamic memory for string. It allocates a dynamic memory for string and to handle the string. It allocates a dynamic memory for the string. So the second one, Y, is not a string. It is an object. It is an object. For example, if I say where X equal to 10 and where X or Y is equal to new number, and you define some 20 or 40. Now actually this is an object type. X is a number type, Y is an object type. So that means it is not a string type, it is an object type. So the new is an operator which is used for allocating memory dynamically. So it is an object. It constructs an object. It constructs an object. Through that object, we can access, and it uses a dynamic memory for that object. What is dynamic memory? Is memory newly allocated for every object. Memory is newly allocated for every request. Static is continuous memory and dynamic is disconnected. That means discrete memory. So technically, so here we are using new, as new is not a keyword here. New is an operator. You should first know that new is not a keyword, new is an operator, because many times people have this controversial discussion like is new a keyword or new is an operator? Sometimes this comes regularly. But the point is, actual point here is, suppose I will show you here. See, so MDN is the official people of JavaScript documenting. MDN is the official resource. So Mozilla Developers Network. These are the official people that provide resources for HTML, CSS, JavaScript. You know that it runs under the control of Brendan Eich, who is the architect of JavaScript language. Actually, here you see JavaScript, we have new. So new operator, you can see that in the special operators, JavaScript have special operators. If you look at the JavaScript operators, you can look at the JavaScript operators, references and all. I will make it more precise for you. JavaScript special operators. So you see the JavaScript special operators will be there. These are the special operators. Different types of operators are present. Different types of operators are present. And actually, the special operator under special operators, because I will conduct a separate session on operators again. So then you will understand about that. Generally, the operators, when you look at the operators, you can see different types of operators are there. And the special type of operators, under the special type of operators, you will get new. So new is not considered here as a keyword. It is considered as an operator. You can get a complete information about that here. You can get a complete information here. So uh, later when I go and discuss about operators, I will give you more about operators. That means detailed information about operators I will give you. So actually the new operator, usually the new operator is used to allocate memory dynamically. It is used for allocating memory dynamically. So new is not generally called as keyword. It is an operator here. So these are official people actually. So of MDN, right? And now what is the difference here is, what is the difference is actually array constructor allocates a dynamic memory. It allocates a dynamic memory. Dynamic memory is discrete memory. That is discrete memory. Memory is newly allocated on every request. And this meta character allocates a static memory for array. Static memory is actually continuous memory. Continuous continuous memory. It is an continuous memory. The memory is continuing. The memory allocated for first object will continue, right? So generally, you know where the values are stored. All primitive types are stored in stack. All non-primitive types are stored in heap. That's a basic thing you learned in JavaScript, no? Right? You know that. So this is the difference basically between an array constructor and array meta character. So when we have to declare array using a array meta character, square brace, what do you say? If anyone asks, like, when I should use this meta character to declare array, what will be your answer? How you will answer that? So how you will answer that? So the answer is very simple. That means if values are required on continuous operations, that means multiple objects will try to use the same values, then you need to define with array meta character. If you want the values to be allocated newly every time into memory, so on request, then always configure using the array constructor. So that is the difference between them. So difference between array meta character and array constructor. That's one point. Another important is question about here. I told you about arrays, we will have a separate session. Means entire interview can be conducted just on array. So later I will take all the questions on arrays and objects. Collectively, while working with data types in objects, one more important thing they ask is, so what is optional chaining in object? What is optional chaining in object? This is very, very important and we see regularly asked in interviews. While working with object data type, what is optional chaining and why it is important? So why you need optional chaining? So generally, I will give you one concept here. So that means we will put here one concept. What is optional chaining? Let's see the concept. We are creating a product. Product object contains name. Product is an object which contains name. Okay. It contains some property price. Okay. Some price is also there. Now what we are doing is we are printing the details. That means we are printing the details. Just say console log and I'm printing the details name. I'm accessing product dot name. That's fine. And in the next line, price, I'm accessing product dot price. And in the next line, so I'm accessing some city and I'm using here product dot city. Now tell me what is the last value? What will be the city value? What will be the city value? What will be the city value? What do you say? There is no city at all. There is no city at all. That means there is no reference called city. And you are trying to use the reference. There is no city and you are trying to use that reference. Then do you know what will happen? If you are trying to use something which is not there, then actually you will find in the console here you can see there is a reference error here. So here it returns undefined. You can check it returns undefined. It returns undefined. It returns undefined. Right. So usually if a particular value means a particular key is not found, then it is going to return undefined. That's good. Okay. That's good. Now what you are doing is here we are having a address and address is an object. In address we have pin code and pin code is having some number 5 lakh some 74 something like this. We are having some pin code. Now what I am doing is here I'm accessing so in the product I'm accessing some product dot address dot pin code. That means it is going to access the pin code. That means it is going to access the pin code. And you can see that it is going to return the pin code. Now, I'm trying to access a city, and the city is product.address.city. And actually, in product address, there is no city. In product address, there is no city. In product address, there is only only pin code. There is no city. Now tell me what it will return. What product address city will return? What this product address city will return? Will it return undefined? Will it return undefined? You can see here, you can see here when I am running this, it is returning undefined. It is returning undefined. Yeah. So it is returning undefined. It is returning that undefined. Actually, if any key, yeah, it is again undefined. It is again undefined. Generally, what happens is you are using JavaScript, which is not a strongly typed language, and data type will be determined according to the values you assign. Then, usually, what happens is you are trying to use something which is not defined, and it is not going to give you any error. It is going to return an undefined as value, but it is not the same in all cases. It is not the same in all cases. Now, what happens is, suppose this product is not having any data, we are expecting the data later. It is not having the data, we are expecting the data later, and you are trying to access name, price, and city, which may be there in the product in future, but currently they are not there. Then, obviously, what happens is when you run, it shows a reference error, type error. Type error says that I can't find any name, I can't find any price, I can't find any city in address, something like this. Now, why you mention null? Because we are expecting the value later. Intentionally, current I kept empty. Later, I am expecting value into that. Now, if your intention is to use that value later, that means not now, you want to use the value later, then what you can do is, means later you are expecting that, then to avoid these errors, you can make it as optional. You can make it as optional by using a null reference character called question mark. Question mark is a null reference character. So by using this null reference character, you can define like this. And you can see, so price, this is also null, product is null, so address is null. That means we are expecting them later. We are expecting them later. Initially, they may not be there, but later they can be there. Now, what happens is when you run this, it will show undefined. Name, price as undefined. And if anything is not there, it is going to completely hide that. It is not going to show. That means you see now the address city is unable to print. That means here we are printing price. I will remove only one option. I will make it as city na, right? That is fine. And you can see it is going to say city is undefined, name is undefined. This is called optional chaining. Optional chaining. Optional chaining is nothing but if an object is expecting some value dynamically later and you have to use those values in your application. Initially, they are not there. Then you try to use them, it will return a reference error. Then you have to mark it as optional. If you mark them as optional, later when you assign something into this, that means into that object, I'm assigning name as TV, and I said here address. Address is an object in that we have a city called Delhi, something like this I defined. Later we assign something into this, then it is going to get them and use them. And until you assigned, so you are not assigning anything into this, then automatically it will put as undefined. If you don't use optional chaining, then what will happen, it is always going to return a reference error. It is always going to return a reference error. So what does optional chaining do? What is the main purpose of optional chaining? So if a property is not defined and expected at uh, at runtime, expected at runtime dynamically, you can say dynamically, then it returns a type error. It returns a type error if used without the value. That means if it is used without the configuration, it will return error. Without the configuration, it will return error. So what you can do is by using optional chaining. That means optional chaining. Optional chaining is defined with question mark. What it does is lets you safely it lets you to safely access all the properties of an object. Access the properties an object. So if not defined, it returns undefined instead of type error. That is what important optional chaining. So it is always recommended whenever you are using some values in an object to configure by using this technique. You have to always follow this technique. I hope you are clear, understood the point, what is optional chaining and how it works, right? Yeah. So good. This is basically the point of understanding how some questions are asked related to the data types, how the questions are asked related to data types, right? So these are the topics of basic data types. Now we will have to go in depth about every type. That means array questions, object questions, date questions, function questions, and separate topics wise. So this workshop is about only these two concepts. And in the next workshop, we are going to conduct detailedly about other concepts in JavaScript. I will conduct approximately 10 workshops on this JavaScript interviews. The next workshops will be coming soon. And in the next workshops, we will be discussing on arrays, objects, functions, OOP concepts, DOM manipulations separately. In this 2 days workshop, I have planned for basic of understanding variables and data types. And from Monday or Tuesday, we will schedule other workshops during another feasible time, mostly by 7 a.m., 7 p.m. We will conduct one workshop. I will let you know in the WhatsApp community. We will send you about that workshop, right? And in those workshops, we will finish all topics of JavaScript related interview questions. This workshop is to give you information about two basic things. The one is variable, another data type. In the next coming workshops, we will discuss others and we will try to finish all the concepts of JavaScript questions and interviews, right? So this is enough for today. I hope you understood and you got something new to learn from this workshop. I hope everything is clear and we will meet in the next workshop that we will announce and we will send you in the WhatsApp community. This notes, everything we will send into the WhatsApp community. Our admin will send everything into WhatsApp community. You can check it. Okay. Thank you very much for your participation. Keep waiting for the next workshop that will be on data types individually, like array, object, separate questions on arrays and object, problem solvings, everything I will explain. Okay. Thank you very much for your participation. Yes, Sai, what is your doubt?
Yes, sir. I don't know actually. So, we don't know any knowledge about JavaScript. So, in a way
Then you need to attend a session of JavaScript. We are starting a new batch on Monday. You can join that. That is a UI full stack where you will have a complete JavaScript end to end.
we will pay to full stack or only,
It
just
is
I
full
want
stack. It is complete full stack.
just I wanted to learn only JavaScript.
If you want only JavaScript, you check our website or contact our admin. They will let you know if any batch is going on. Okay.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much, all of you. And please keep waiting. And for the next workshop session will be announced into the community, right? Thank you very much.